So we're back. It's episode 8 of Produce 101 Japan, The Girls Season 3, and we are here looking at a fundamentally elimination episode with some filler in between. And so, we start off basically just introducing the girls. They do their introductions, and then we go to Lepai Camp, which is where they kind of introduce the original songs challenge, where the girls get to kind of evaluate the songs first, and then have high hopes for choosing a song that they might perform. Ultimately, whether or not they can perform that song is decided by national producers at home like you, and so you guys get to choose for them. Uh, and so after this, they get assigned to teams, and 15 are going to be eliminated after only 4 days of training, which means a whole bunch of people are going to be training for basically no reason at all. And then, even after that, we learn after this is that the teams are going to be shuffled, I guess, for balance, because certain teams did not lose as many members as other teams. Also, after what has been regular voting, apparently we're going to a different number of picks that you can make. So I guess initially you could choose 11, but maybe we're moving to a 2-pick thing. I believe that's the case. I read about it, and so I think that's what's happening. But this episode basically just has eliminations and then some filler. And so I'll just briefly touch upon a few things. At around the 45-minute mark, there's a situation where Yumeki is looking at people who are doing a song that he choreographed, and then he ends up breaking character because I guess Kato Kagura maybe didn't do a move right or copied it kind of wrong. So he ends up kind of losing it. He loses his composure. Usually he likes to do the stare down thing like that, right? Or kind of like a wry smile, kind of just like creeps upon his face. In this case, he was caught laughing and he couldn't hold himself together. So Mean Yumeki did not make an appearance. Then around the 50-minute mark, Nakasone Rino is one of the judges who's in LA, and so she does a kind of teleconferencing style of streaming in order to give them advice, and she gives them advice in terms of how to perform. She says, "Own the song," and a lot of chat I noticed were really impressed with Reno. It's funny because I saw this shift in people. Like, people were like, "Oh, she's just going, you know what I'm saying," all the time, and they thought she was kind of over the top. But I feel like over time they started to see that Reno was one of the coaches who really understood things from the perspective of someone who's kind of learning, and just like being very empathetic with them, and also having kind of legitimate advice for them that they could use to get over even like some of the emotional hang-ups. But after that, we get to the 53-minute mark. Where are we? And we have Ayama Thelma, coach, saying that, well, right now she's judging the Avengers team for this current team with the highest ranks. She gives them advice. Says that their performance was kind of like complacent, like they could have done better. So it was kind of boring, and it's not really something that she really, even though it was okay, she wouldn't really want to watch it again. And then just a brief thing is that around 1 hour we get back to eliminations, and I feel like the subtitler wrote that Kayla Kimura was Ayama Thelma here. You can see at the bottom. But that's pretty much it. In terms of the eliminations, people were complaining that the contestants were forced to stand. And then at about 1 hour 15 minutes, we get into a sports day, which is actually really funny, and you should probably watch it. I'm not going to comment on it. I don't like to comment on the filler content. But one team does win the chance to do product placement at around 1 hour 36, which is basically the Avengers team, I think. And then there's also the Maknae is doing a radio session, and I don't know why I'm even I'm just recapping some of what happened. So yeah, the Maknae is around 1:59. They do their trainee radio session. This was really touching and it was nice to watch. But then let's just talk about the actual competition now. And so we have 5 teams. I don't know if I have a graphic for the 5 teams. So we'll just no, they did not put them together. So let's just pause on something neutral. Okay, so there's 5 teams. There's the first team is Team A to Z. And this has Iida Shizuku, Kato Kagura, Sakuraba Haruka, Takahashi Hina, Hatamena, Otsubo Karen, Takagi Mayu, the Nakamori twins, and then Mizukami Rimika. And 5 people were eliminated from this team. And so, luckily, the leader in center, Hatamena, is still intact. But this team has the lowest average in terms of voting power out of all the teams. And so, for them, the main concern is going to be if they can really move people at home. Because in terms of people voting for them, their average is around 25. And of course, I think the maximum you can get is should be around 3. 3 is the lowest you want, which is the best score, and then the highest score is, I think, it should be around 30. So they're at 25, and 30 is probably the lowest, and so they're pretty up there in terms of like having a too high of a number, which is bad. You want closer to 3, you don't want close to 30, and they're at 25 in terms of their voting power. And so Team A to Z, they also have one of the songs which I think kind of like it's good. I think it's good for their vibe. They can pull it off, but I'm not sure if they're gonna motivate enough people to vote. And so these are the ones that, based on voting power alone, they may not do well, but they could do well in terms of performance. And at the end of the day, we'll judge them independently of however they do. In terms of voting, we'll judge them on the performance just independently as well, and individually. The next team, Team 2, is Team Batty. It has Ando Yui, Kamio Ayano, Kawabata Ranka, Sakaguchi Reno, Shimizu Keiko, Sutani Urara, Yoshida Hana, and then you also have Ando Chiharu, Koyama Mana, who's the leader, and Akiyama Emma. And 3 people are eliminated from this team, and so there's 7 people remaining. Obviously, well, their voting powers are 22.4, which is closer to 3 than 25, but not much closer. Still far, but the teams are going to get shuffled anyways. But just based on just having 4 days to practice, this is, I don't know if the voting directly relates to how well they perform, but just based on that, if it was just looking at the voting power as an indicator of how well they perform, that's that they're gonna do about third place in terms of their votes, if the teams remain the same, which we know they're probably not going to. There's going to be some shuffling for sure. I don't know how significant the shuffling will be, but my guess is that it'll be around 5 members per team. Team Popcorn is Abe Nagome, Kitazate Ryo, Kitazume Sakura, Saito Serena, Nakano Kokona, Uchiyama Rin, Kano Mayu, Sudo Sakura, Yamazaki Mitsuki, and Sakura Kotane. And they had 5 eliminations. And one of those eliminations was one of my top 3, which is Pseudo Sakura from pre-rankings. And so this is before we got to see what they could really do. But I'm kind of disappointed about that because I don't feel like Pseudo Sakura did anything wrong. I feel like she always performed pretty good. And then she just did not gain traction, and I don't know if it's just because she's kind of a, what do you call it? What's the term? I'm forgetting the term. That's that tanned with blonde kind of hair girl look. Gangaro style or something. I can't remember. But anyways, this team has a 23.4, which is lower than Team Maddie, but higher than Team A2Z in terms of having better voting power. And so this team will probably be in fourth place if the team stays the same and the voting doesn't change much. I think because this team has 5 members, this team probably won't change at all. But there may be an opportunity if the people being forced to shuffle out of the group have a choice to bump people out. I don't know if that's going to be the case. But anyways, Team Popcorn, not in a good position and definitely not going to get any transplants from any other members. Most likely. The fourth team is Team Toxic. We have Aramaki Joa, Ishii Ran, Kenmotsu Nano, Sasaki Kokona, Sasaki Tsukushi, Taka Batake Momaka, Takami Ayane, Tanaka Yuki, Hidaka Hazuki, and Matsushita Miyu. And this team did not lose a single member. They have 10 people there, and they didn't lose a member in terms of the regular eliminations. But they're probably going to have to kick out several members, and there's going to be like, what we typically see when this happens is people lose confidence because they've been kicked out, and then they also are disappointed because they don't have as much time to practice a newer song. And this team in particular, there was an issue where Kanmotsu Nanu got the center position, but she was trying to encourage Tanaka Yuki to not have any regrets in terms of giving up the center position, which Yuki did. But then Yuki was praised during practice as being like the best in some ways, and then that made her think again about whether or not she should have gone for center, which is something that I feel like she should have taken the chance for. I mean, if she got knocked out, that would have been one thing, but like just giving it up before even trying, I feel like she should have tried her best. But this team is pretty powerful. It's at 16.6, which is about the midpoint between a 3 and a 30. And they have Ishii Radin here, who is guaranteed to kind of lead the team pretty well. And then they have Takami Ayane, who's really good vocally. And so those two members are already really strong. But then we also have Aramaki Joa, and even though she ranks at a 22 in terms of her voting power, she is a very good performer. And then Nano is also not bad, and Tsukushi also she's at a 28 in terms of her ranking, but she is a good performer as well. And so this team should perform pretty well. But my guess is they're gonna lose a whole bunch of members. Most likely, they're gonna, if they're smart, they will kind of kick out the members with lower ranks. But at the same time, if they're not doing well performance-wise, they'll want to keep the higher ranking people who are, even though they have lower voting power, they'll want them to have flawless performances, because who knows how the live audience votes. They may not have those prejudices that home audience votes relate to. And so it's kind of like a delicate balancing act, I feel like. But the next team, which is the New Avengers, Team and Me, their score is an 8. Where 3 is the best, 30 is the worst. They are at an 8. And that just shows the number of people who chose this. And I don't know how they decided to choose this, and if they were just being ambitious or they just liked the way it looked. But they have so much of the top 10 in there, it's kind of ridiculous. And then even the other members are not that highly ranked out of it. And so you have Tanaka Koto, who's a pretty good performer, and Murakami Rinan, who's also demonstrated that she can be pretty flexible. But then you have 2 eliminations on this team, which is Fujimoto Ayaka and Yoshida Ayano. And so those guys, they're gone, and they would have actually lowered the voting power if they stayed. But now this team has to decide who they have to kick out in order to continue going. My guess is they do kick out Tanaka Koto, Murakami Rinon, and Aita Rin. who are rank 10 and up, but then it keeps them all below rank 7 if they do that, and then it becomes a truly powerful team. But they did get scolded during practice because apparently maybe they were indecisive and didn't choose a leader. And so that is pretty much my assessment of the team so far. Apparently they are going to get reorganized. I don't know to what degree, but my guess is if there's just a surplus of people, they're going to be selected to be kicked out by the teams, and then they will have to choose a choice to be selected. Also, because of bingo, we have a sports day, so I want to mark this off. What's going on there? Need more hardness. Anyways. So that's that. And then we also have to look at the current tops. So I managed to maintain a lot of my top 11, surprisingly. But they're not really my top 11. They're just kind of pre-ranked based on an initial assessment of their sincerity and their abilities based on the 1 minute intro and also the Leap High fan cams. And so I was just like, it's just an experiment for me more than anything to see if those things are indicative of people's success. So far, it doesn't seem to be. It seems like people are voting based on character more than anything, or visuals, or history. And so a lot of these people bringing their own voters. But anyways, we have Kato Kokoro, Sakurai Miyu, and Shimizu Keiko, and those are the 3 of my top 11 who are maintained in the top 11. But then you go further down, and Ando Yui is slipped to 15, but I feel like she was 18 before, so she's actually improving. She's not 15, she's 14, sorry. And then a little bit further up, Tanaka Yuki. She's improving, but she's at 19, which is probably not safe. I think you have to be an 18 to be safe for the next eliminations. And then I have some more outliers. Hatamena all the way in 30, Nakano Kokona in 31, and Satani Urara in 34. So I'm about to lose more of mine, but I'm kind of surprised so many of them actually managed to stay in up till this point. But so far, in terms of assessing how things are going to be changing soon, because we're moving from an 11 pick to a 2 pick, I'm thinking Ishii Ran. She's been doing pretty good at maintaining number 1 rank based on her performance and live audience, and also it seems here home voters. But you have to wonder if a lot of these votes are just from people saying, "Yeah, here's my top 3," and then 4, 5, 6, 7. It's just going to be people who I think are good based on merit. So after that, who knows? It may shift back to what it initially was, which is people voting based on pre-decided favorites. So Kato Kokoro, Kasara Momona, Sakurai Miyu, I'm sure, will probably do pretty well. And I don't know, like people were talking about how certain people, even past the top 11, are going to shoot up into the top 11 because of just, apparently, if they have enough votes, they can get up there. But like I said before, I think that the distribution on this show is a lot better than it was for like Girls Planet, because it's just kind of like moving up in very small increments in terms of the vote differences, whereas for Girls Planet, like the top 11 had like millions of points, and then below that was like people in 100k points, and so there's a huge gap. But it's not the case with Japan, and they actually have like legitimate voters, like I think the top 36 was like 500,000 or like somewhere around there, 400,000, and then you get up to like 700,000, and then it just gradually, it's more gradual. But anyways, I guess that's pretty much it. Not really a lot else to say about that, but I'm really interested to see how things shift when they can only choose like 2 people. If that's the case, maybe I misunderstood. But anyways, you'll also notice one last thing is that the top 11, which was decided last week, were not shown. They were just given null entries so that you couldn't see their actual ranking. And then that was in the 6th episode. And the 7th episode, they didn't show vote ranks. They just did performance rankings, which are kind of irrelevant. But you'll see that top 11, all the zeros are in this column here, but it's sorted according to this column. And so the top 11 did not change in terms of the 2 weeks. And so this top 11 is pretty strong in terms of, I guess, the 11 pick. But when you get to 2 pick, we'll see what happens. Anyways, I guess that's it. Beginning of this video was kind of scattered because it's an elimination episode. I'm not really a lot to say, and then they scatter filler in between, and then I just gotta like randomly talk about things. I guess that's it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. Let me know why in the comment box down below. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so I can see you in the next video.